fitting in within the lines sometimes. So now, I have the honor of introducing our speaker. He's been here for the very beginning. He's been part of our center from day one. And today, he's going to ask us a question from the looks of it. If not now, when? So let's give Reverend Doug a hand. Thank you.
Woohoo! Am I turned on yet, Russ? I didn't turn myself on. I turned myself on. Am I turned on now? Oh, okay.
And you didn't need a bike.
I got turned on that way already. Yeah. Thank you, Juliet. That was a lovely introduction. It's really great to be here on this Father's Day. And I was quite perplexed when I saw the theme and for the month that CSL published and the affirmation. I looked at it and I thought, now how am I going to fit that into Father's Day? It doesn't make sense. Because the theme is in living color, and the weekly topic is in living color, and it's Father's Day, and I thought, well, it's about living Father's Day in living color. I think I better temper that a bit and put it living color with wisdom, because we could get a lot of that. And the affirmation for the day is, I fully embrace the spectrum of my human experience. So that opened up something for me that I didn't quite get till just before I come up, and it redid the whole talk for me. That's how Spirit works sometimes. But it's the idea of how to tie in the full spectrum of your human experience. And what I had put there is today's Father Day, and we honor Father, in particular, the masculine principle in the creative process within all individuals. No matter where we are or what we're doing on our life's journey, the creative process is always working for us by working through us. We use this great creative tool in the most powerful way by developing, nurturing, living, and experiencing our vision. Today we examine the creative process within us, our masculine principle, honoring Father's Day, and how to develop and work with our vision. I'm going to do an opening here in a minute treatment, but I just want to give you the little topics I'm going to talk about and see if you could figure out right off the front how they're all going to tie in together. So I'm going to talk about the title, Father's Day, the divine masculine and feminine principle, the creative process and how it works, the creative process and living our dream, and be a father to your vision and go the distance. And all of those follow one particular line of thought. Totally separate, but they all join into the one. So join with me as we prepare to share in this experience together. And I invite you just to take this moment and go within and to know that we all share one common thing, one common life, and that's God's life, and that's our individual and collective lives right here and right now. So as we join together in consciousness, we do so basking in the point of power in our life, which is always in the present moment. And to fully absorb and be here and experience that and utilize that, I arrive here today with an open and receptive mind and a willingness to let go of that which has preceded me because the past is not relevant, and to move forward, but to let that go until I've crystallized today what the future is that I desire to experience. So I know there's many facets to my being and many different ideas and ways of looking at how I can move forward. And so I arrive here in this quiet, special time, knowing that I am open and receptive, and I await. So I just take a few moments of silence and allow myself to just center in the here and now and relax and be here. And just feel your body in the seat and feel your presence in the sanctuary. And know that even though you share this experience collectively, it is only your experience, my experience, individually first. And as I make it my experience, then that becomes the experience of all who I share myself with. For I know that each is an individualized expression of the Most High, and that each is valuable, worthy, and what each says is their truth. So individually and collectively, we join together to seek a higher path and a greater understanding of where we are and where we want to go. And so, that now being declared and accepted, I know it to be so, and so it is. Well, so what I'm going to attempt to do here is talk about each one of these things, the importance, and how they all kind of tie in together. So the title is, If Not Now, When? Have you ever lived in a world where, I'd really like to do that, but when I get this, or when I get that, or if this happens, or if that happens, or someday I'd like to, or someday I will. Has anybody ever said that before? That is the biggest waste of time that we can do. And so there's a real way to get rid of that. And we need to stop. Let's take all of those things and say, yeah, maybe I'd like to, or wouldn't it be nice if it is, and put them on a list and look at them and say, there's some of these I'm going to do. I don't give a damn what happens. And put them there and just table the rest and forget about it. Forget about it. Well, I might forget about it. Focus in on those things that you're going to do and do them, and you will build a consciousness that will perhaps add some of those other ones back again, or if not, add some new ones. And when the new one come, am I going to do them or on this list? This list, fine. This is the do list. That's the want-to-do list. And you won't find yourself in as much do-do if you do those kind of do lists. Okay? Because everything's possible. So I got inspired for this title by one of my mentors. And his name was, or is, Jack Boland. And he was a Unity minister out of Warren, Michigan, and did a couple of 3 services a day of 4,000 or 5,000 at each one. And I met him and had about 3 different personal meetings with him. In fact, one I had to pick him up from the airport and take him to the conference. And after a while, he says, Doug, I got the feeling you really want to talk to me. And I said, well, why is that, Jack? He says, it's taken a long time to get there. Well, I did take you the long way so we could talk. So I had some very good conversations with him. And I always remembered the last talk I heard him do and the last talk he did. And he was in palliative care in the hospital near the end, just about there. And they got all the cameras and everything in there because he wanted to give one final message. And for a guy that was dying, you wouldn't have believed that they presence that he had and that he brought. And the talk that he wanted to get through to you and to me and anybody listened. And this is where he was, and the title of his talk was, "If not now, when?" Are you listening to that? Because anything you dream of that's on your list, you got 110 reasons why you can't do it, and you've been through them all. I don't want to talk about those because they're not relevant. I only want to talk about a few reasons why you can and need to do those for yourself. Okay? We're going to leave in the I can't do it land. I remember one time I went through a personal bankruptcy, and it's about 5 or 6 years before they give you a credit card. After I got off the probate, I needed a credit card for traveling, and it was only 14 months, and I went into the bank, and I made an appointment with the banker to get a Visa card. And he started telling me when I told him why he couldn't have it, and I stopped him. Excuse me, this part of the conversation is over. I don't care how many reasons why I can't have them. I already know that. I'm a CPA. I didn't make the appointment for you to tell me that. I made the appointment to see how I can get one. Well, you don't understand. I said, no, you don't understand. I'm not leaving here until I get satisfaction. Well, I can't do that. Well, who can? The supervisor. Well, you take it to the supervisor, tell him the deal, and if he says no, I want an appointment with him. Clear? Is that clear? Gets a call. He says, you know, this is very unusual, but we're going to give you a credit card with a $500 limit. However, there's a condition. You have to put up $1,500 for 2 years as collateral. No problem. And then we'll put it back in your account. Because I needed that for traveling, as you well know. Well, how are you going to travel with $500 credit limit? Hello, I pay $3,000. I got $3,000 credit on my bill, plus $500. That makes $3,500 I got. Right? Cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. It's not about how you can't. If you need help and got 10 reasons why you can't, make an appointment with me and I'll help you come up with another 50 valid reasons why you can't do it that you could be satisfied with. Does anybody want to take me up on that? However, on the other hand, if you would like to talk about how you can, we could come up with 50 reasons why you can and how you can do it. And I could guarantee you, if you go ahead and try to get this done, that all the reasons we come up, none of them will be the reason how it works out. Because that's not my job or your job. That's God's job. You don't dig it. How many people here plant seeds and garden? Anybody? After a couple of weeks, do you go out and dig it up to see if they are seeding and growing? How many people do that? Why not? Why don't you do that? If you told people I go out every couple of days and dig them up and do it, they'd probably get together and get a collection to get you therapy, right? So why would we do that when we're working with a creative principle that guarantees the same result as the seed? Then I get you, yeah, but you don't understand. I don't want to understand. I want this idea to get through. So if not now, when? And it really got spurred here because I just got my new business. I'm going back to work, incorporated, with my new partner and my board of directors and shareholders, investors, which is 5 people. And my primary partner is 33 years old, and it's called the Transformation Guide Company, Ltd. And my investors are my wife and my daughter-in-law, and the corporate directors are my partner and my daughter and myself, who all have the skills to develop what I need to be able to get this out there. If not now, when? I'm 76. Why am I doing this? Well, I don't know for sure, but it's what I need to do. It's what I'm driven to do so I could leave behind my work, which I figure is valuable and can benefit people. And that's why my partner's 33, and my daughter and my lovely wife and my daughter-in-law are involved to protect my interests and to protect his interests, because they're honest people. You see what I mean? Wow. Well, there's more on that coming. And again, okay, so big deal. Now, gone. Father's Day. Well, happy Father's Day to all fathers. And one of the things I like to do is stop and honor my father, the man I had the most conflict with, which gave me the greatest gifts I've ever had. And of course, to honor him also meant the two other fathers in my life, my grandfathers, who, as Anna will tell you, I talk about all the time because they greatly influenced me. And then you can't talk about my father and my grandfathers without actually tying him into being veterans, the two veterans of WW1, and my dad, a veteran of WW2, a pilot in the war. And if you want to see my dad's story and what it's like for a man to go through combat and carry something that he never shared with his family until something happened and he had an opportunity, which a lot of veterans never had, was to have closure on it. So if you want to see that, I don't have time to get into it. It's called Lost Over Burma, Search for Closure, about a Canadian plane that went down and disappeared my dad's best friend, last man to talk to him alive. And many years later, they found it and he got closure. And it's very important because the masculine part of us, the father part of us, is part of the creative principle, which really morphs us into the next idea, the divine masculine and feminine principle within us. And this is where everybody gets screwed up. This is not a man-woman thing. This is a person thing. And it don't matter what gender you swing to, or both, doesn't matter. The masculine principle is the head. The feminine principle is the heart. The masculine principle is where the seed or the thought is formulated. The feminine principle is what creates and produces that. You see, that's why the woman obeys the man in life. We're not talking about gender. That's crap. That's religious crap. And I'll say that and challenge anybody to talk to me about it, because if you want to go Bible, I'll talk to you, because, you see, the masculine principle formulates the idea. Does the soil care if you plant peas, corn, marijuana, or stinkweeds? Does it say no? The soil never says no. The feminine principle never says no. It always says yes, because it is the creative force to bring the idea of the seed into form. Correct? Correct. That's why both Islam and Christianity got that backwards. Only 3 billion people, but that's not a few. And I don't care. I'll stand and talk to any one of them face to face. Put it all over there. I don't care, because I believe that, and that's the truth in my mind. So that's how the obedience factor comes in, because whatever you plant in the soil will produce. If you plant a crappy attitude in the soil of your mind with your masculine principle, it will produce crappy experiences. You want to know how come I know? I had a lot of practice at it. And it works really well if you're convicted at it, convinced of it, and really good at being a jerk. Now I'm nice, and it works the other way too. Right? It's really important to understand that. Then there's the creative process and how it works. Well, I spoiled that because I just talked about it. But let's talk about the creative process and living our vision. And about seeing that, a lot of people believe that that causes this. No, this causes that. The environment is our reflection of how we think. And quote today, famous one, by Doug. If you don't like what you're getting, then look at what you're giving. Do you know how much foul language that has elicited from people when I told them? And that's just the ones that actually said it, not the ones that were thinking it. Because people don't like that. If you don't look at don't like what you're getting, look at what you're giving. And it's always worthwhile to be cognizant of aware of what one is thinking or imaging, because thought is a seed and it's accompanied by the soil of your mind unconditionally, and it always produces what has been sown. It's the law of sowing and reaping. Can you imagine planting corn and getting potatoes? It works that way in here, okay? And we really got to get there. Napoleon Hill said, from Think and Grow Rich, whatever the mind can conceive and believe it can achieve. Brilliant scholar. Muhammad Ali, from The Soul of a Butterfly, Reflections on Life's Journey, said, if my mind can conceive it and my heart can believe it, then I can achieve it. Well, don't matter which end of the spectrum you come from, right? The message is the same. So, the creative process and how it works. And living our dream. So first, we got to develop our vision. Well, what the hell is a vision? A vision is really a dream that we have. It's a dream of something which in reality and conditional, there's no way that that could possibly happen right now as we could see it, and we don't know how. It's something out there. But that's valid because we do need something to pull us forward. If not, we wallow in what was. And generally what was that we wallow wasn't good, or what was, it was so much better in the good old days. It was so much easier than this. Anybody ever hear that stuff from old people? Visioning. The vision is your dream. Okay? Well, that's nice. So what's the next thing? Well, it's kind of like a formula. So we take our vision and we work with the tool of imaging. Because the mind don't think in words, it thinks in pictures. So, for example, if I was talking about a pink elephant walking across here, and I'm talking about it, do you see in your mind pink elephant walking across here in type? Or did anybody see a pink elephant? Try not to think of a pink elephant. Don't think of one. Who's not thinking of it? But it's there anyhow, isn't it? Okay? So the mind doesn't think in words, it thinks in pictures. That's imaging. Visualization is another word for it. But it's really part of the succinct part of the dream and the vision. Add imaging, because if I want that, I got to give my mind a picture, so it's got a general idea. Okay, well, let's go. What's the next exciting thing that we do? Well, then we got this secret tool that you didn't recognize as a tool that you got. It's got a lot of great, wonderful things, and it's got you into a lot of trouble. But it works, and you don't have to ask it to work. You just have to prime it with the right information. So you got your vision and your image, and you know what you let work on that? Your imagination. You can't help but have an imagination, can you? I could turn your imagination into fear or into ecstasy or excitement with just a few words that you get a picture of. I don't want to demonstrate it now, but I can. Trust me on that. Okay, so we got those powerful tools here. We got our dream. We got the tool of imaging, because we know now that we got to take that vision and convert it into images. right? And then, of course, we got to go and let our imagination go. And so when you add the imagination to those two, you have to be careful, because you can add those two and then start imagining all the things that could go wrong. Then you get to be right about not doing it. So your imagination is going to activate when you got those two together, but you better make sure you set it in the correct direction. And we got that going. And so what does that bring up for me? A song. You may have heard it. I'm going to read a couple of the lines out of here. It's called "The Dream Never Dies." They say the dream never dies, just the dreamer. The dream never dies if it's strong. The song never dies, just the singer. So come on, everybody, sing along. The Cooper Brothers? Anybody remember that one? All men dream of someone they'd like to become, because without dreams inside us, how would we all get by? And the idea is, if you establish the dream in consciousness, that even when you go, if the dream's strong enough, it continues on. So keep that in mind. Now, the masculine principle controls what's going on in here. The feminine principle responds and produces it. And that's the creative process within us. So we take the vision and we add our image and let our imagination work on it. And then we multiply that, because there is a multiplication factor which energizes powers and makes it more powerful. That's your emotion and feeling with respect to it. And then you create something out there, as in my case with what I just told you. I did the vision 3 years ago, and eventually as you move along with it, eventually things start happening that you never dreamt of. I thought my vision to get my workout was a book. There comes the documentary, and now this program. Never expected that. And that's my dream. My dream is to be able to leave the value that I received for 46 years in this, and maybe longer, hopefully, so that it could provide a way for people on their journey. That's my dream. And the way I got it set up now, when I leave, my dream isn't going to die. Do you see that? Okay? So, what we want to do is, the last point, where's that? Oh, be a father to your vision and go the distance. So it's going to be up here. Everything will follow what starts here. This is your masculine principle. This is the Father in each and every one of us. This is the one that we use to direct the creative process within us and focus on what we want, direct our energy and attention to. It is Father's Day, the masculine principle. And we need to get an understanding and work with this now. And it doesn't matter how old you are. What really matters, if not now, when? Someday land is there, but I don't live in someday land. I live today and create and following my vision. And the vision's gotten so damn strong that it gets a life of its own, and it just kind of sucks you into it, and I just do all the things that I need to do along the way. You wouldn't believe some of the things that are happening. Amazing. Okay? And that's really what the essence to me would come through me with being a father. And then people say, well, I don't have this, I don't give a damn what a person does or doesn't have. It's not relevant. What Arthur Ashe said was start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. Anybody ever heard Arthur Ashe? Know anything about him? He's a tennis player. Oh yeah, so what? First black tennis player to ever make the American Davis Cup team. First black tennis player to ever win the Wimbledon, the U.S. Open, and the Australian Open. He carved a way through racial barricades to be what he could be, and only that, not as a political statement. So the largest, most elite tennis stadium in the world, in North America, is called the Arthur, or wherever it is, Arthur Ashe Stadium, okay? Named after him. So now that you know a little bit more about him, that makes a whole lot more power to the statement because of the man and the conditions. So it doesn't matter what the person is. It doesn't matter what the condition is. If the dream is strong, then it supersedes everything else. And there'll always be a way. I remember one last story here in Red Deer when I was working with this young lady who was stranded and left with a couple of kids by a drug addict husband and no education and nothing. I'm doing my program. Very unique because it took her 5 years to finish one part of it, but she did it. Longest. Called me up and said, I finally got it done after 5 years. But anyhow, she had a dream to be a nurse. That was her dream. Well, started with all the reasons why she couldn't. Well, I need 2 years to get my high school updated, and then I need 4 years to do the program, and then I need 2 years of practicum before I get the whole thing. That's 8 years. And you know, she's got 2 boys, no income, nothing. No money, no, right? Sound pretty hopeless? So she started and told me all the reasons why she couldn't do it. And then the first question I asked her, I said, well, that's 8 years. How old are you, dear? I think she said 37. Well, if you don't do this, how old are you going to be in 8 years? Well, she said 45. I said, well, if you do it, how old are you going to be in 8 years? 45. Guess what she chose? So we did my program, she worked it, she went through, graduated, got her nursing degree, her practicum, doesn't live in the area anymore, in another city, and the last I heard, she was nursing. I don't hear all the stories, but that was one of the ones that was worth telling. Because what do you think her situation was when we started talking? Does it sound desperate and desolate? Does it even sound maybe a little bit worse than yours right now? And look what she did. And simply because she made that decision when I asked her that question, and that started it. Okay? So always remember, it's never about listening to anybody else. It's always about listening to what resonates with you. And you could do it, and it could be a total failure, and maybe you'll go on and do something else. And somebody says, what if you fail? Fine. But what if I thought about it and never really tried? Do you think that would be on my mind? Damn right it would be. And there's no such thing as a failure unless you accept you're failed. I remember I just listened to a guy talk. I failed at relationships. Check. I failed at businesses. Check. I failed at education. Check. I failed at this. Check. Well, I had everything on the list. But then he said something that was really clear, which I believed about myself. I may have failed at all of those, but I am not a failure. Because be real clear, if you do not fail on your way to success, you're not succeeding. Virtually everybody has that along the way, failures. It's a part of life. Somebody said to me, Reverend Doug, I wish I could be like you. You're like a master. and he was just starting out. And you know how I replied to that? I replied to him asking him a question. Do you know the difference between a beginner and a master? He said, no. I said, a master has failed way more times than a beginner has even tried. So I'll leave you with that. And as you go forward from here, remember, the only restrictions and limitations placed on your dreams and desires are the ones that you start with yourself. Get those down, and who knows, your vision might not work out, but if you do it right and not locked into it, I always found out things are better than I could have possibly imagined because I wasn't that smart to think it up in the first place. Okay? So you just got to get started with what you have and keep feeding the right idea. So I know for you, as I know for myself, with an open and receptive mind and the crystal idea that my dream is a possibility and my dream can be a reality. If it is to be, it's up to me. And I willingly step forward, taking the risk, knowing that whatever comes is great. And so it is. Hey.